Hi, my name is Jung Hyup Kim from Industrial and Systems Engineering Department. And this morning, you guys learned so many things, and we are doing so many exciting things. So I believe you guys must be tired because right now it's 11:30 and 40 now, and you must be hungry and tired. And today, I want to talk about a little different than what you guys heard before. And my main research area is human factors. And today I want to talk about why the human factor research using physiological data is vital for the future. I believe that you heard many things about the artificial intelligence and also like virtual reality, augmented reality, all cool gadgets with hyper super technologies. But actually, when you watch the news, you will hear many news like people are overwhelmed by all the tasks they have to do that every day. And then sometimes you might hear that air traffic controllers are overwhelmed by their task, and your safety of air travel gonna be in risk. And then a few weeks ago, we saw the news. There's a collision between the airplane and fire truck, and people died. And you heard the transportation. There's a kind of communication between the air traffic controller and others, and they missed the signal. And then that lead to the people's death. Not only for that, if you're studying something new, you have to struggle with the new things. And then sometimes you feel like AI is more smarter than you, and you feel so frustrated about what you're supposed to do in the near future. So right now, we have many things that in my mind, and actually, unfortunately, we don't know much about who we are. And actually, the research that I'm doing is how we can understand better. Unfortunately, up to now this point, the only way we can understand about your stress level, cognitive workload, and physical effort is doing the survey or getting some interview data. But we have a lot of new technology, such as like physiological data, and there are a lot of limitations on this kind of the process of the data. So just like Fang Wang introduced about the gaze transition and eye tracking, but there's also kind of other data such as like a pupil dilation, heart rate, muscle activity, and motion capture system, skin conductor. There are so many different signals that body generates every moment when you do your work. But the problem is it is really hard to filter that data and aggregate that to make one good story. Just one example. If you go to the hospital for the annual health exam, the first thing they're going to do is you measure about your blood pressure, temperature, height, and weight. And from that kind of information, and they can pre-estimate about your health status. Same manner, your body generates those kind of the physiological data every day, 24 hours, 7 days, but it is really hard to understand about what story that you are hearing from your body. Eye tracking, definitely you can understand about focus or attention. Pupil dilation, yes. Mental effort, heart rate, physical strain, and motion capture and muscle activity, physical effort. But these things only tell you a partial of your story of your body and soul. For that reason, in order to break this gap, we try to combine this data, and then we can understand the big picture. That's what we call multimodal sensing data. Actually, this is not a new thing. You can find the evidence of the multimodal sensing data in every day in your life. For example, I'm married and I have a wife, and we have built up to such a good relationship last 21 years. And every time when I tell something about, okay, I feel so bad, and then I feel frustrated, and then my wife already knew that, even though before I say something of my physical or cognitive status. And sometimes I lie to her, but she catches that. I'm telling her truth or not. And then sometimes I was so amazed by her intellectual ability, or maybe she might have sixth sense, but that's kind of pretty cool example of a multimodal sensor she built up for the last 21 years of the database about who I am. Same manner, if you have children, your children are going to tell you about how you feel. Then actually you can detect your children's emotion, even though she or he doesn't know about exactly what they're saying, but you can catch that through the process of the multi-sensing data for your children or your relative. That's kind of what we built up. But we do not have any objective model that can truly understand and measure that. So if we can build a very good frame structure of the multi-sensing model data, definitely we can draw the big pictures about what might be the real cognitive status and what might be your physical effort problem. And also if beyond, we can understand metacognitive states about thinking about what we are thinking. So that's kind of the goal that I want to accomplish then. So what might be the application of this kind of research? Definitely we can develop something more advanced for the virtual reality, augmented reality training material. So then right now we can provide a lot of visual stimuli. But problem is really students understand about what's going on in the learning process-wise? As you're a professor or instructor, you know about, even though you say as your student, are you really understand this material? Maybe 80 or 90% students are going to say that, yes, I got it. But you can read their face, and they telling you something not true at all. And then based on their response, you can provide some of the additional feedback. If you can build up some of the multi-sensing framework about how students understand the material that you provide, definitely you can provide some of the adaptive real-time feedback, and sometimes you can provide more close and also more detailed feedback to your students so that the AI can be used this kind of data to provide more tailored feedback to your students. This is going to be the future of the education that we can build up for our students, for our next generation. And for the working environment, well, definitely driving or pilots, they have to deal with a lot of information at the same time, and AI and other decision support tools provide lots of information. But depends on their cognitive process and physical effort and strain, they can sort through the data and provide what's the most important data that should have it right now at the moment. Those kind of things can be provided through those kind of outcome of the research. So in this afternoon, my students are going to provide 3 different kinds of the showcases. The first one is going to definitely combine the eye tracking data and then facial expression analysis to estimate cognitive processes. This can be the one that we can provide that the eye tracking data can provide kind of student paying attention or not. But one of the problems of this kind of eye tracking data is where sometimes students pay attention very hardly because they didn't understand at all what's going on in this face. So then by understanding those kind of facial expression, we can understand, discern what is the focused face versus the confused one, and then we can figure out what is the student cognitive status. The next one is going to be AR, VR environment. Definitely people are going to use more those kind of new smart glasses and then future generation of the device. But problem is people cannot understand how much physical effort they should put on. Like maybe you might use Apple, Vision Pro. Many people complain that after they use 40 minutes, they feel pretty tired and they didn't want to use that one anymore. Something like that. And then we can measure the person's physical effort by using the motion capture system. That's kind of what you can do that. And also, this is like a beginning phase of one. So the trauma center, there are many physicians try to understand how to deal with the trauma cases within 10 minutes, and they have to make very important time-sensitive decisions within 10 minutes. But the students, in the medical student, they can understand exactly what thing they should deal first and then later. So by using the pupil dilation and gaze transition data, we can understand what things that students missed for that training, and then they can make the physicians better for that trauma situation. So this kind of things we're going to show that 3 showcase in this afternoon. And time is almost up, so then I want to conclude my slide. So last week you saw the very excited scientific accomplishment. Astronauts travel travel to the moon, and then definitely we will go far beyond, like Mars, and also we will do the more space exploration. We have a lot of good technology, machine and AI, but still we don't know much about how much stress and physical effort we can handle this space exploration. So I think that this kind of multimodal sensing data research is going to be the future, the good foundation of the intelligence system for the future innovation, and also we can go beyond what we can imagine. That's the conclusion of my slide. Thanks so much.